John, what if I told you that the Grammys are good this year?
Deep exhale. Don't let me down.
5, 6, 5, 6, 7, 8.
That's stupid, guys. I want to thank God. No.
Welcome to the New York Times Popcast, your Tony Bennett duet of music news and criticism. I'm John Caramanica, a critic at the New York Times.
I'm Joe Coscarelli. I'm a reporter at the New York Times.
Joe, it is the Grammys. It's Grammy time. It's our Grammy episode. We're going to do some predictions. We're going to do some prognostications. We're going to talk about our hopes and dreams. What is your level of dread?
What if I told you
Nope. What if you didn't?
that the Grammys are okay this year?
I do kind of know that to be true.
The nominations, at least.
Yeah.
I do think it's really hard to look at this full slate of nominees and not feel like this is pretty much what happened in popular music in 2024.
I think it's important to contextualize that. If you go back to the Grammys 5, 10, 15 years ago, often what you had was a nominating body that would reward older musicians. What you didn't really have was a sense the Grammys were in any kind of dialogue with contemporary popular music. And the Grammys are interesting because it ostensibly rewards the best that is happening in the music business, but it never felt like it rewarded either the most successful or even the most critically acclaimed. It was sort of like, who are our buddies, or what records did we play on our turntables growing up, and did they put out an album this year?
Yeah, and I think, there was a changing of the guard 5 or so years ago at the Grammy Awards. And part of what this new batch of leadership has tried to do is, much like you've seen with the Academy Awards and the Oscars, is replenish the voter rolls.
Right.
Push out some old people, bring in some new people, make sure it's diverse, make sure also that people are actually voting. Like, I think one thing that people don't realize, it sounds simple to say, but the Grammy Awards are not some objective decree. Yes. They are the result of returned ballots, like voting for anything.
Just some people.
Yeah, it depends who
can
shows
say what,
up.
Who can say what people
does
are
that
going to vote
skew
for?
Old? Does that skew white? Maybe.
Yeah.
Who's actually going to sit down, listen to this music, or not listen to this music?
So you're pro Grammys. that's what's happening. It's 2025.
I would say I'm softened towards the Grammys. I think between the two of us, we've probably been covering this show for a quarter of a century.
Stop.
Cumulatively.
How dare you say that to such a young person as myself?
And I just think that we've seen way worse. So what we're going to do here today is we're going to go through what we think are the most important or the most interesting categories here, both in terms of what they say about where music is, what popular music is, but also where the Recording Academy, the Grammy Awards are.
Right.
And we're going to stop along the way to point out some of the outliers, because those do still exist. There are still a lot of Grammy moments.
Head scratchers.
Yeah, within these nominees. But we're going to do a run through some of the major categories and some of the smaller categories that we think got it either really wrong or really right.
Yeah, and I think before we go in there, a couple things. One, I'm often thinking of Grammy coverage in terms of defense. Rarely do I look at the Grammys and think this is going to be a fun show. This is going to be reflective of contemporary popular music. I do agree with you that when I looked at this year's nominees, by and large, I thought, okay, these are things that, dare I say, were on my year-end list last year. Good job, guys. So what we're going to do, we have these.
Oh, yeah.
We've got predictions for what we think will win, and in these envelopes, what we think should win in every category that we're going to talk about.
So I have your picks, you have mine, of what should win in these categories that we're highlighting. We're going to surprise each other?
I would like to think.
I think we're going to agree some. We're definitely going to disagree some. Let's jump into the categories.
Let's go in.
All right, we're going to start with Best New Artist.
This is a great place to start because it is often one of the most baffling categories in all of the Grammys.
Yeah, I mean, this is a place where Esperanza Spalding beat Drake and Justin Bieber, famously.
First of all, shout out Esperanza Spalding, a great American musician. Genuinely.
And
no
yet,
shots. Was it Best United States New Artist beating out two Canadians?
Yes,
is that what happened?
They were in fact disqualified.
It was a quibble, a tiny quibble.
In recent years, this is a category that's gone to Dua Lipa, Billie Eilish, Olivia Rodrigo,
fine.
Megan Thee Stallion.
2 out of 4 is not bad.
Which, like, okay, those are some of the artists that went on to become A-listers.
And
right?
also Dua Lipa.
And then, wow, rude to our queen. And yet, in the last few years, this award went to Victoria Monet, and before that, Samara Joy, which are musicians who are very accomplished in their own right, but are more genre-focused, I would say.
Yes.
Less representative of what's happening in the center mainstream. So let's run through these nominees. We've got Sabrina Carpenter.
Great.
Maybe not a new artist. This is...
Again,
yeah.
new to most.
Right. It's a classic Grammys thing. Sabrina Carpenter is on her 6th album, but this is the year that she broke through.
Dare I say, if you have a tween, are a tween, or are us, Sabrina Carpenter's not new.
Yeah, and I think we're going to be talking about her more as we move forward.
Yeah.
So Chappell Roan, same thing. Huge year last year.
Yep.
Genuinely new artist coming off of her first album. Had an extremely big public breakthrough in the calendar year 2024. Chappell Roan, also essentially the queer folk hero of the moment in popular music.
Absolutely.
And we'll come back to her. Shabuzi, same thing. This is, a rapper turned country hit maker.
Yeah, this is someone who has done maybe the purest hybrid of country and hip hop in terms of song structure and subject matter that we've seen, especially in the wake of a few years of people really toying with that post Lil Nas X.
Again, a subject that we will return to later
Heavily.
in this episode. We have Doechii,
We do.
female rapper, the new prospect from Kendrick Lamar's former label, TDE. She's a big industry favorite right now. She's getting a lot of push. She's out here, a lot of star power, fancy music videos. I think we'll be hearing
High
more-
concept.
High concept.
High
I think we'll be
concept.
hearing more from Doechii in future years. And then when we get to the other half of the best new artist.
You mean the actual hit makers?
Yeah. So who's Teddy Swims?
Teddy Swims had a big Target and CBS record called Lose Control, which is kind of like a soul rock metal thing.
Gigantic gauges.
Huge gauges, although I feel like downplaying the gauges as he's getting more famous. But Teddy Swims, one big hit. You were talking about hit makers. Is Teddy Swims a hit maker? I don't know. He's made a hit.
Yes.
But I don't know if he's engaged in the ongoing process of making hits. He has a hit. Same we could say of Benson Boone. Benson Boone is here, has a song called Beautiful Things, where he, in the video, he's dancing on like a mountain. He's yelping these beautiful things. Like he's just...
That's how he's yelling.
That's literally, sign me up for next year. I can do the cover version. These are people who have had one breakthrough. And in Grammy land, one guitar-driven breakthrough actually qualifies as like a big deal.
There's also a band here, Khruangbin, that's a bit of like I'd call them journeymen. Like this has been a band for a long time. It's a lot of
Not a
people's-
new band.
Not a new band, not a new
No.
artist. As far as I could tell, didn't really have their breakthrough last year.
Is it rude to say this is a band for people that don't like bands?
I was going to say this band tops a lot of people's Spotify year-end lists, but those people don't listen to music.
Yeah,
they just put
this is-
sounds in the background while they do their laundry or their homework.
I do find this tough and a bizarre year to be nominated in this category.
For all the Khruangbin fans, if they topped your Spotify wrap-up, this is not an attack on you.
This is also an important thing that we should probably get out of the way early in this episode. If we are potentially being dismissive or ungenerous to your favorite, please continue to have that person or artist as your favorite. We're just two guys with a lot of expertise and a long historical perspective. But other than that,
And a lot of opinions.
But other than that, hold tight to your favorites.
The 8th nominee here is Ray. It's a British R&B soul singer.
Yeah, Ray is someone who I feel like in British pop soul, there are performers in this style like every couple of years that sort of bubble up, and Ray is a good example of this. I don't think Ray has much of a U.S. presence. It's a little bit surprising to see Ray in this list.
And Ray's also in Songwriter of the Year, which we'll get to.
Separate thing, yeah.
All right, John, who's going to win this category? Who will win the Grammy Award for Best New Artist?
Chappell Roan's going to win.
I agree.
Chappell Roan is going to win, and in my mind, Chappell Roan had the best year and also had the best year in a way that was completely legible to both thoughtful Grammy voters and, dare I say, unthoughtful Grammy voters. Big hits that are redolent of big arena-size 80s pop. If you liked Lady Gaga, you'll like Chappell Roan. If you liked certain early Madonna, you'll like Chappell Roan. If you're down with the kids, if you have kids, you'll like Chappell Roan. Chappell is a really, really good songwriter. Chappell Roan also has a visual presentation that is unmatched. And Chappell Roan is maybe, outside of Sabrina Carpenter on this list, is the only person who I think genuinely understands herself to be a true pop star, which is to say she's struggling with it. She's pushing back. She's fighting. She's pushing the walls away. She's snapping at paparazzi. She's complaining about press coverage. This is real 80s pop star stuff, which is great as someone who grew up then. So to me, it's Chappell Roan. I think it's the obvious choice and the counterintuitive choice altogether.
I agree. I think Chappell, her only real competition here is Sabrina Carpenter. I think probably Doechii has a little bit of an upset potential in there.
I think Khruangbin
has
the upset potential.
Okay.
I think Khruangbin has the upset potential.
That said, between Chappell and Sabrina, I think Chappell is the old school Star is Born, best new artist of this bunch. Sabrina Carpenter was a child star. She's been working her way through. Chappell, boom, like explosion from tiny club to sold out show, you know, in the span of weeks or months, hundreds of thousands of people watching her at festivals. Like, I think if you know anything about music from last year, you know that she was the best new artist. All right, we're going to read each other's picks for who should win this category, but I have a feeling they're going to
think this is, yes, you go first.
This is Chappell's category, right? We agree. You also said Chappell should win.
Yes.
No surprise.
Chappell Roan.
There you go. So if she doesn't win, you can blame us. Because we're so certain that she will and should.
This seems like as close to a lock as any of the big four categories are. But there are, in the Grammy parlance, the big four. Best New Artist, Song of the Year, Record of the Year, and Album of the Year. Of the four, this is the one I will be stupefied if someone opens an envelope and says the words Benson Boone.
I'm with you. Okay, you're going to see just how strong this crop of Best New Artist nominees are as we go through these next couple of categories, because they're competing in a lot of the major ones and a lot of also the pop categories, which are by definition some of the most loaded categories on this list. So I'd like to talk a little bit about pop solo performance, which is essentially the pop song of the year category, because I think it's an interesting lay of the land. So nominees in this category are Bodyguard by Beyoncé from Cowboy Carter, Espresso by Sabrina Carpenter, Apple by Charli XCX from Brat. You're doing the meme dance. Would you believe me if I said I don't know what the Apple dance looks like? Even you doing it now.
Really? You've never seen it?
I've never seen it. I mean, I've seen it, but I've never seen it. It's never stuck with me. I have no idea what the Apple dance
It's incredible that you're being fired on Popcast Live. That's an unbelievable thing.
Look,
it's been great working with you.
We have to talk about our blind spots and our biases.
That's true.
Birds of a Feather by Billie Eilish from her album Hit Me Hard and Soft. And then Good Luck Babe by Chappell Roan, which interestingly is not on the album that she broke through with, but is the sort of
a standalone
single after the fact. Anything stand out to you in this category?
So, okay, we're going to talk about Beyoncé a bunch. It's kind of strange we haven't said the word Beyoncé yet, right? Because ultimately, the big question that we're going to get to later in the episode is Beyoncé going to win Album of the Year?
Finally.
Beyoncé has never won Album of the Year, nominated often, the most nominated artist in Grammy's history, never won Album of the Year. However, there is a Beyoncé strategy here, which is to nominate Beyoncé songs in every possible category.
If they could have put her in Best New Artist, they would have.
They would have. If they could have put her in like Best Classical Packaging, they would have. So I see Beyoncé in this category, but I do not think that they are going to reward Beyoncé in this category. I'm pleased to see Sabrina and Chappell here, because I think something that has happened with young stars is they say, oh, we'll give you a Best New Artist nomination, but we won't actually honor your art specifically. These, to me, are the best pop songs of the year, by and large. The Billie song, the Chappell song, and the Sabrina song. And also Charli XCX had a song.
Look, I agree. Who do you think's going to win this category?
I do think Billie Eilish is going to win this category.
I do too.
Yeah, Billie Eilish is... There must be like a German word for award show favorite who will win in every category that they are nominated in, despite the quality or relevance of the work that they release. If our German fans have an idea of that word, please let us know on email. Billie Eilish is... I have often referred to her as the Tony Bennett of this generation. Billie Eilish is someone who passes as a kind of edgy, youthful star, but inside beats the heart of truly a classic crooning singer from the 50s. That resonated loudly for Grammy voters multiple times already. Billie has won awards that she deserved. She has won awards that she should not have won. This seems like an opportunity for the Grammys, especially given some of the things we're going to talk about later in the episode, to kind of say, okay, we still want Billie here. So we're going to give Billie this one, and we're going to keep maybe Sabrina and Chappell out of this one.
Yeah, you alluded to this, but Billie Eilish swept the big four categories in her first Grammy Awards in 2020 when she was 18 years old. No one had done that since the beloved Christopher Cross in the early 80s. Mm-hmm. Billie won Best New Artist, Album, Song, and Record of the Year. Yeah. She went on to win some of those categories multiple times already. She has 2 Oscars for her songwriting.
Like Billie could release like voice notes, like literal just like memos off her phone and then get nominated in these categories. If I was someone in competition with Billie, I would find that probably pretty frustrating. But I think this song is a legitimately great song.
That's what I was going to say.
I'm not mad at it, but it has a heavy bias in its favor that I'm not sure that the newer artists in this category can overcome.
Birds of a Feather has the weird thing where it's become Billie Eilish's defining, arguably most popular song.
Which is strange because I find it to be the least Billie Eilish of all Billie Eilish hits.
I agree.
The reason that to me Birds of a Feather is like the least Billie Eilish of all the Billie Eilish hits is when I think of an old Billie Eilish song that's a defining Billie Eilish song, it has this kind of like subterranean quality. It's like almost like she's being pulled into the song. And Birds of a Feather, obviously a lot of the vocal is like power whispered, but getting into a high register, you're hearing a crisp, clean vocal. It's maybe one of the first Billie Eilish hits that I thought anyone could sing.
But it's so straightforward that I think in this category, pop solo performance, it has an easy path to victory. So we agree there. But who should win? I think we're going to match again here.
You want me to go first? I think we are going to match again.
Chappell Roan.
Chappell Roan, Good Luck, Babe. Okay, so when I went to see Chappell Roan perform in Tennessee, when I came back, I'm just going to keep throwing these.
I like it. We're just
littering the studio. When I went to see Chappell Roan perform in Tennessee, I knew Chappell Roan was good. I understood that she'd be a powerful singer. I understood that the fans were going to be decked out in pink and camo, and sometimes pink camo. I'm doing a tiny bit of little Chappell play today. What I don't think I was prepared for was how sturdy the structure of the songs was going to feel. And all the songs off the album, I was like, damn, these are like incredibly solid. And then when she got to Good Luck, Babe, I was just slack-jawed. I literally, like, everybody around me is losing it. And I'm just there like, because when you hear something that you know you're going to be hearing for the next 50 years for the first time in that way, like I'd heard Good Luck, Babe dozens of times, but hearing it in that environment, I was like, oh, we are going to be living with this song. This is, I mean, I forget what I wrote exactly.
Yeah, you called it a new pop standard.
It's a modern standard. It's a modern standard. It is witty. It is caustic. It's elegant, but it's also spare. She accomplishes a lot with just a few gestures. And so, to me, when I look at this list, as much as I like the other songs on it, it's got to be Chappell.
I also think, crucially, this category is for pop performance, and she sells it.
Yeah.
Period. Let's run through pop vocal album real quick.
Let's.
Nominees here, Short and Sweet by Sabrina Carpenter, Hit Me Hard and Soft by Billie Eilish, Eternal Sunshine by Ariana Grande, who managed to put out an album while promoting Wicked, Chappell Roan's Rise and Fall of a Midwest Princess, and The Tortured Poets Department by Taylor Swift, an album that was born 30 years ago at last year's Grammy ceremony.
I can't believe we've arrived at a place where we say that Taylor Swift is nominated for a Grammy and like our default reaction is a groan. Because I'm old enough to remember when it was a source of pride that the Grammys were taking note of Taylor Swift. And now is this bullying culture? Is that what this is?
On whose part?
Like you said, Taylor announced this album at the Grammys last year, which almost felt like a little bit of a taunt. Like, I'll be back. Coming for you.
See you guys this time, this
literally,
place
like,
next year.
hold my place. Hold the mark. To me, again, outside of the Ariana Grande record, which is a fine record,
It's a good album.
but kind of not a era-defining or year-defining record. Again,
No, she's here because she's Ariana Grande.
yes, but these are the correct albums to be nominated. That said, Taylor's going to win.
You think so?
I think Taylor's going to win. I'm not saying I support that necessarily, but Taylor's going to win. And I think the reason Taylor's going to win is because I don't think Taylor's going to win anything else.
Okay, you think this is where they're like, all right,
This
one
is
more.
the consolation. This is the consolation Grammy.
Great
this year.
work, Queen. We'll see
Did
you next
that.
time.
We'll do. Yeah.
We'll
Great
deal with this
tour.
later.
Great tour. Great gowns.
I think Billie's going to win.
Oh, interesting.
For all the reasons we talked about with Birds of a Feather,
Mm-hmm.
Hit Me Hard and Soft, it's a real album.
I agree.
It's 10 songs,
Yep.
super tight, really made as an album. The songs refer back to each other. I did a piece with Billie and Phineas, her brother, who writes and produces her music. They talked about the inspirations for this album. They were very much like, we made an album. Like, Grammys love that. And
I hear
we get to
album.
the bigger
I hear album is
categories.
God.
Album is
Someone
God.
said that.
Someone
said
in the mix of these nominees
Someone said that.
says album is God.
I think YouTube link is God personally, but what are you gonna do?
Let's open the envelopes and find out who we think should win this category. I'm gonna do yours first.
Please do.
I think you're gonna pick Chappell again. Oh, are we just gonna match every pick? I thought we were supposed to disagree. You
I think
picked
we're gonna
Sabrina
get to the
Carpenter.
disagree. I thought this was gonna be my curveball, but apparently so did you.
Sabrina Carpenter, short and sweet,
Short
should
and
win Pop Vocal Album of the Year.
And again, this is actually not in my mind a slight of Chappell. It's more when I'm thinking of the specific needs of this category and what Sabrina does so well.
Be a pop star.
Be a pop star.
Don't bring me to tears when I just did my makeup so nice.
And also a good singer. Doesn't really get credit for being a good singer because people are kind of preoccupied with the presentation. A bona fide new idea of what a contemporary pop singer can do. Clever, bawdy, not overwrought theatrical, but kind of bringing back like a 50s kind of glamour.
Some sass.
Yeah, this is something that we're not seeing anybody else doing. Altogether, when I went back, this album also was very high on my year-end album list. Chappell's album came out in 2023, so it didn't count. But this album was very high on my 2024 year-end album list because the more I listened to it, the more I heard it being all of a piece. So to me, pop vocal album, this is the thing.
I tried to make this argument to you when it came out. I'm glad you finally came around.
Sorry. Checks in the mail, baby.
We're going to talk about two of the biggest Grammy categories, but two categories that we have to explain every year because no one knows the difference between Song of the Year and Record of the Year.
Including, dare I say, many Grammy voters.
Right.
We see you.
So let's be clear. Song of the Year is a Songwriter's Award. This goes to the writers of the song for the composition itself. Imagine Kendrick Lamar's Not Like Us in sheet music.
Kendrick Lamar maybe does use a quill to write the songs.
Record of the Year is for the recording. That's the song itself. This is a award for producers and performers.
Yes.
Often these things overlap, but not always.
Yes.
Sabrina Carpenter is actually a good telling example because she has two songs in these categories, one per category, and I think they're quite strategic. So in Record of the Year, she has Espresso, and in Song of the Year, she has Please, Please, Please. Both of these were huge hits for her, but I think where they are says something about the category itself. Let's talk about song first.
Run down these songs. Espresso, as you point out, is the frothy, fun pop hit. That's the breakthrough. If you ask anybody what Sabrina Carpenter did last year, they would point to Espresso. It is the defining record. Please, 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 as you were saying for many months, that's the connoisseur record.
Yeah.
It's a little bit more sneakily written. It's a little bit smarter in conception. It doesn't have a couple of those weird lyrical hiccups that make Espresso unique. But if anything, it's more cleverly constructed.
Yeah, and it's more of a song. Like there's a guitar, there's live instruments. It feels like it's almost like a band. You know, it's a little Fleetwood Mac, it's a little Dolly Parton, it's a little ABBA. It's very much a capital S song. So in addition to Please, 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 the nominees in Song of the Year are a bar song, Tipsy, Shabuzi song, Birds of a Feather, Billie Eilish, Die With a Smile, that Lady Gaga Bruno Mars duet that we're told exists. Mm-hmm. Fortnight by Taylor Swift featuring Post Malone.
Another alleged hit.
Good Luck Babe by Chappell Roan.
Yep.
Not Like Us by Kendrick Lamar. I want to note that the only rap song to ever win Song of the Year is This Is America by Childish Gambino, which is arguably not a rap song.
Arguably not a song.
Right. So keep that in mind. And Texas Hold'em by Beyoncé.
Yeah. Okay. I think Beyonce's going to win this. I kind of think Beyonce's going to win this. It is not my favorite of these candidates, even by the metrics of songwriting. I do think that the Grammy is looking for places, as I mentioned earlier, to reward Beyonce. I think Texas Hold'em, it was the lead single from Cowboy Carter. It's the statement of purpose. I think that people are going to hear it and say, this is the song where Beyonce announced a major pivot. Maybe by the time the Grammys come along, she'll have announced a tour. I think she's going to be very on people's minds and has been for the last few weeks, especially with the Christmas performance. I think this one's going to go to Beyonce.
So Beyonce famously won Song of the Year once in her career for Single Ladies, Put a Ring on It. Mm-hmm. Never again since then. Mm-hmm. I think Beyonce made a mistake here by not doing the Sabrina Carpenter and splitting the two. Yep. I think 16 Carriages belongs in Song of the Year, and I think Texas Hold'em belongs in Record of the Year. If 16 Carriages were here, the sort of B-side to the introduction to Cowboy Carter, these songs came out together, I think Beyonce would win this category. As is, Song of the Year, I've said it before, it's Billie Eilish. Billie Eilish won this category not once, but twice. Mm-hmm. She won for Bad Guy from her first album.
Right.
She won for What Was I Made For, the Barbie song.
Great song.
It's a ballad. It's
great song.
Our colleague John Perellis, chief pop critic of the New York Times, often says this category has to go to a ballad.
Yes.
That basically the most songy song always wins, the most old-fashioned.
Sure.
I think Birds of a Feather is the most old-fashioned song in this bunch, and I think it is so sturdy, it is so clear as discussed, and the Grammys just love this ingenue so much that I think it's going to be really hard for any of these more, progressive tracks, compositions to outpace Billie Eilish in this category.
I don't know that I agree, but I can't really argue with what you're saying. Who should win, though?
All right, I'm going to pull your pick. Fresh from the envelope. I have no idea what you're going to say here. You could go in many different directions.
I could.
Good Luck Babe, Chappell Roan. I guess
it's got to win.
I should have known from you rhapsodizing earlier in this episode how
just
strongly
run it back.
you feel about this song.
Tell our editors to run it back. This song is so durable. This song is going to appeal to the average Grammy voter who's like, I don't like what the kids are doing, but I like that Chappell Roan. I think you're going to have a bunch of that energy.
And you don't think that could go to Billie?
I think it could. I just think personally...
You think it shouldn't?
I think it shouldn't go. I think it should go to Chappell. Please, 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 Sabrina Carpenter.
I heard that
dare I say, the Coscarelli anthem.
Yeah, you know I've been
2024.
writing for the song since the moment it came out. This is the music we wish Casey Musgraves was making.
Wow. Big facts.
It's a song. It's a song. It's a song. It takes such pleasure in its own cleverness and catchiness. There's a key change.
Yeah.
There's just all sorts of little frills.
Yep.
You say that there's not weird lyrical moments, but there are.
There are, yes. They're maybe not quite as weird, but yes.
It has mother, which that's the song of the year.
Yes.
Mother. The way Sabrina Carpenter and Amy Allen say mother.
Now, record of the year.
This is a weird category.
Okay.
And it's a weird category because the first nominee, Now and Then by the Beatles.
Joe. Joe, we've been sitting here for 30, 40 minutes, 60, I don't know. We've been sitting here a long time. And I have somehow managed to do an entire episode of Popcast about the Grammys. And I have not once been consumed with rage. Not once.
This is old school Grammys.
This is like...
I mean, John Batiste won Album of the Year not that long ago. It's not like the Robert Plant, Alison Krauss moment in Grammys lore, but I do think recently John Batiste winning Album of the Year is...
a miserable night for me. And for music lovers, dare I say. So anyway, the Beatles are nominated for, like... Just, can I also sidebar? For our viewers who are maybe too young to know... The Beatles were a popular band in the 1960s.
It is worth pointing out. I want to point out the Beatles in their heyday, they won only 4 Grammy Awards when active. Like, they just kept getting washed by Frank Sinatra.
It's good to know that the Grammys have been consistent decade after decade after decade of ignoring pop successes.
And the first Beatles album to finally win Album of the Year was Sgt. Pepper. It was the first rock and roll album ever. It was only like, when I say pop used to win, I mean like traditional pop used to win.
Perry Como type beat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the Beatles, could they win this category? Yeah, probably. Is this a Beatles song? Absolutely not. This is like cobbled together using some weird AI technology. And it's from a demo that John Lennon wrote after they stopped being the Beatles. It just has nothing to do with the Beatles.
One of the most horrific moments of Popcast in 2024 was when you forced me to watch the music video for this song, which is... Okay, so the music video for this song, I believe, anticipated all those AI videos that we see on Twitter of like unlikely, like what happened if Donald Trump and Joe Biden were walking, holding hands through rural China.
That's what this music
That's
video
what this music video is. It anticipated the AI boom.
Yeah, with Beatles from different eras hanging out and doing silly dances together. So you have old Paul and Ringo.
Don't ever do that to Popcast.
No.
Don't ever do that to Popcast.
Let us be.
Just literally leave us where we stood.
All right, I have to run down the other record of the year
for it.
nominees. This is Texas Hold'em by Beyoncé again, Espresso by Sabrina Carpenter, as we mentioned, 360 by Charli XCX this year, Big Look, small
Great.
song, Birds of a... Sorry, small record. It's not,
record.
notably,
No.
it's not in song.
No, barely a song.
Birds of a Feather by Billie Eilish, Not Like Us by Kendrick Lamar, Good Luck Babe, Chappell Roan, Fortnite, Taylor Swift.
I think they're going to give this one to Chappell.
You think Chappell will win Record of the Year?
I do, like, I've been thinking a lot about big picture narratives and the Grammy sense of, like, tipping the scales correctly and, like, where are we going to acknowledge some new talent? How are we going to properly credit Beyonce? What are we going to do about Taylor? How are we going to handle Billie? But I do think at a certain point, they're going to be like, we see the movement is coming. Chappell, like, the train is coming. Where do we get on? And I kind of think this is where they get on. I think Good Luck Babe is going to win Record of the Year.
I think your should with song is more likely. I think Chappell, if she's going to be awarded at the highest levels already, sort of maybe prematurely in her journey, I think it's going to be as a songwriter, not a performer necessarily. I think this is where Not Like Us by Kendrick Lamar has its moment.
A song about the alleged sexual indiscretions of the most famous musician of the last decade is going to be the Record of the Year at the 2025 Grammys. Just say it. Say it for the clip. Say it for the soundbite.
It was the Record of the Year 2024, whether we like it or not. Do I think it's going to win Song of the Year? A minor? No, I don't think the esteemed songwriters of the Grammy voting blocks are going to sit down and reward Say Drake, I Heard You Like 'Em Young.
They're waiting for Tweaker to come out next year.
But record, I think the record, Not Like Us, the strings, the bounce, the drums, the vitriol in Kendrick's voice. I just don't see the Grammys passing without Not Like Us getting its love. Sure, it's going to win rap song, whatever. But I also think this is its big moment Will Kendrick be there? Will he be rehearsing for the Super Bowl, which is 1 week later?
Right.
I don't know. But I think there has to be a Not Like Us moment, and I think this is where it's going to come. Should it? I'm not arguing that necessarily. But I think this is the year in music in one record.
Let's see who you think should win Record of the Year. It's Sabrina Carpenter. It's Espresso. Again, hard to argue with this.
Another cultural moment.
Moment.
If Not Like Us was not your record of 2024, again, I'm not saying people's favorite songs. I'm saying the defining...
Are you saying that people can't like both Not Like Us and Espresso? Real Popcast heads.
But I think if you wanted to argue that another record owned the year in a slightly different way, it would be Espresso. And I think it succeeds as a record does. It's not, is it the greatest songwriting I've ever heard? No, but it's an undeniable pop confection. It sounds familiar, but also new. It introduced a star. It was inescapable. Espresso should be the record of the year. All right, John, here's what you got. Here's what you say should win. Good luck, babe. You're just all the way. You're going full Chappell. Ran the table. In John Caramonica's Grammy Awards, Chappell Roan
I looked at all these Google Docs we were sending around, all these empty slots. I listened to the songs. I meditated on them. R.I.P. David Lynch. I meditated on them. I kept coming back to the fact that no song this year is better made than Good Luck, Babe. And I understand that there's some sense about spreading the wealth. There's some sense that maybe she's a little too young or a little too new to the Grammys party. But these are my votes. This is who I get to vote for. This song, Durable AF, should be Record of the Year.
Let's run through two more categories that I think are pretty interesting. We're going to talk about Songwriter of the Year.
A relatively new category.
Yeah, so this is the third year that the Grammys have awarded Songwriter of the Year, which is kind of a crazy thing to think about. It's like, what are the Grammys for?
If not this.
But I think songwriters are a little bit of the industry's dirty secret, and they always have been. And it's like, you have these massive pop stars. They want to take credit for songs, whether they did or did not write them. And
you didn't write them.
Yeah, and putting a spotlight on some of these behind-the-scenes figures, I think, is important for the industry, and like way belated that it would take, 100 years.
Especially now that we've arrived at a moment where songwriting is so collaborative across like multiple, like you have a track person and you have a melody, a top line person, and then a verse person, and then maybe the artist shows up. So it's a strange moment to isolate one individual and say, you're the engine, but nevertheless, it's welcome.
And because there is a Producer of the Year non-classical category, this is mostly what are known in the industry as top-liners, people who write lyrics and melody, essentially. So the nominees in this category, which I think span genre pretty effectively.
I actually think this is one of the best spread of nominees of any category.
So you have Jesse Alexander in here for songs by Luke Combs, Megan Maroney, some other country stuff. You have Amy Allen, one of the big songwriters behind the Sabrina Carpenter album, as well as Olivia Rodrigo, Justin Timberlake, Tate McRae. I spent some time with Amy last year as she was having her breakout moment. You have Edgar Barrera with songs by Shakira, Becky G, Peso Pluma. This is the Latin pick in the category. You have Jessie Jo Dillon, who wrote with Morgan Wallen, Post Malone, Megan Maroney, Kelsey Ballerini. Another country-ish pick, but leaning a little more pop. And you have Ray, who we mentioned with Best New Artist, for songs by herself, Beyoncé, and Rita Ora.
Yeah.
So imagine how much of a flex it is as a songwriter to submit your package with a Rita Ora song.
And get nominated.
And still get nominated. Yes. John, we think this is a stacked category. It is, right?
It is a genuinely stacked category, and I think one of the things I like is that apart from the two country-leaning people, everybody does a distinct thing. You can sort of parse out the fine points between the two Jessies, Alexander and Jessie Jo Dillon, but what it seems like the Grammys tried to do here is really identify on a genre level who was a person who was like shifting the narrative in that genre, and then reward them.
Yes. So who will win Songwriter of the Year at the Grammy Awards?
I think it's your friend Amy Allen. I think the songs are too big. They're too powerful. Just the Sabrina stuff alone. Also, this is where you're going to have a tiny bit of popularity bias for the Grammys. As good as I think Edgar Barrera is, I'm not sure that Edgar Barrera has the name recognition to go and win across cross-genre here. Also, as a sidebar, I'm not sure these are the best Edgar Barrera songs, but that's a separate conversation. To me, it's Amy Allen for the Sabrina stuff.
Amy Allen was nominated in this category 2 years ago, the first year it existed. I think you're totally right. She's due. She had the biggest year. And she does a very specific thing, which is that she brings singer-songwriter vibes to giant pop singles. So one of the things we talked about, she and I, was that she's there to make a song a little weirder, a little more writerly, a little more musical. Like she's always pushing her big stars. She's worked with Harry Styles. She's worked with Justin Timberlake. She's worked with, Halsey. And she's always pushing them a little out of their comfort zone. And I think that's something the industry wants to reward itself for.
It's a very Linda Perry type energy.
Yes.
Right?
Exactly.
Okay, who should win this?
I think we're going to agree again, unfortunately. I don't know. All right. Are you going to do a left field one for me here?
Why don't you open that envelope and see?
Jessie Joe Dillon.
That is correct.
Talk me through the Nashville side of things.
So here's the thing about Jessie Joe Dillon. Look, I look at these Amy Allen songs. They're indisputable. I have no quarrel with the Amy Allen songs. I think that the Megan Moroney songs that both Jessies did Megan Moroney songs that are in the package for nomination. But the Megan Moroney songs that Jessie Joe Dillon worked on, to me, were emotionally affecting. They were intimate. Sometimes a song is so crisply done, it doesn't actually have to be weird to be effective. And it's no knock on what Amy Allen does. It's no knock on what anybody in that mode does. But there is something to be said about just quietly getting down to the work of writing a sad ass country song. And Megan Moroney had a bunch of them, and Jessie Joe Dillon was the person who really nailed that, I thought, out of this lineup.
When it comes to voting blocks, Nashville is often known as a town that votes together for its people. And I do wonder if Amy wins here because
of the split vote.
The Jessies with the Nashville backing split the vote.
You think Amy Allen should win? I don't have a quarrel with that. Amy Allen would be my second choice for sure.
While we're on the subject of country music, though, I do think we should run through Best Country Song, another category that I think is has its finger on the pulse.
Dare I say this is one of the most revealing lineups in terms of nominees that I think are good nominees and bad nominees. They're all correct. It's like the right good nominees and also the right bad nominees. Take us through.
So the nominees in this category are The Architect by Casey Musgraves.
The Brutalist.
Understand, are there blueprints or plans? Can I speak to the architect?
Do you think if she could retitle it, she would?
Fascinating.
A Bar Song, Tipsy by Shabuzi.
She's been telling me all night long.
One of the biggest smashes of last year, crossed over from country into pop, was inescapable, but is actually based around an interpolation of a rap song from 20 years ago, Tipsy by Jaquan.
Iconic record.
I do think it's notable here that when it comes to Grammy rules, the writers of songs that are interpolated as opposed to sampled outright, that is, songs that are played upon in a melody or versioned upon, those writers are not eligible for trophies. So Jaquan, if this wins Song of the Year or Best Country Song, might get a certificate or something, but he's not going to get a real.
He'll get our undying appreciation.
Right.
Already has that, to be fair.
Jelly Rolls, I'm Not Okay.
I am not okay. I'm barely getting by.
I know this is a big song for you, personally.
Yeah, very much so.
Post Malone and Morgan Wallen, I Had Some Help. Another #1 hit from last year. Pretty seamless duet between two huge stars from two different worlds, or so we thought. And then Beyonce, Texas Hold'em.
Again, here's why this category I find so fascinating. It has something for everybody. It has a country music song nominee for people who are like, I don't want to vote for a Nashville song. It's got the Beyonce record. It has a song for someone who's like, I wish that they made songs the old way. It's got this Casey Musgraves song. It's got someone who says, there's a new Nashville. I support Morgan Wallen. I wanna make a stand and say it's time to welcome Morgan Wallen back into the fold. I had some help. It's got the I don't mind the face tattoos in Nashville audience. You have Jelly Roll. And then you have Shaboozey for the audience that's basically like, what if Nashville didn't make country songs but actually made rap songs? This is actually a genuinely interesting and honest reflection of all the kind of interest groups, to say nothing of the fact that you have these kind of ambient discussions over the last few months about Beyonce's relationship to country music, the CMA Awards, et cetera, et cetera. Beyonce was never going to get nominated at the CMA Awards. That was a thing that was an invention of the chattering classes, because Beyonce doesn't make industry Nashville music. But the Grammys doesn't care about that. So Beyonce can get nominated here.
But will she win?
No.
Who's going to win in this category, John?
It brings me no joy to say this. Casey Musgraves is going to win this award. This song's bad. I really don't like this song. This song, okay, so if you are a type of person, such as myself, who bought into the promise of Casey Musgraves 8 to 10 years ago, one of the things that she did so well was do something that was a little bit challenging to Nashville orthodoxy, but was so good at the structures, could get away with it, and actually invite traditionalists along on the ride.
Yeah, her songs were about gay marriage and smoking weed. But they sounded like country songs.
Now, all Nashville songs are about smoking weed, and probably not about gay marriage, but they're about smoking weed. Here's the thing. This is the type of song that you make when maybe you have given up trying to make genuinely provocative or challenging music.
It's crazy that she is the traditionalist in this category only a couple years later. Like, basically, Nashville was like, we're getting on a jet, and Casey Musgraves is like, but my bicycle.
And if anything is going backwards. These are songs, like, if you ever listen to the really, really old Casey Musgraves stuff from when she was like a teenage country singer, it almost goes back to that type of traditionalism. It's a snoozer. I really don't enjoy it. I think it's going to win.
And it is worth noting that Casey Musgraves is a proven Grammy favorite. She won the Big Award Album of the Year in 2019 with Golden Hour, which was her sort of Beck album.
Yeah, psychedelics
fair?
album.
Yeah. All right, let's do shoulds. Who do you think should win Best Country Song?
I'm actually curious to see who you think should win. Okay. You're a new Nashville king. Post Malone and Morgan Wallen, I had some help. Why should this win?
This song is both classic and innovative.
Okay. Shout out Charlie Handsome.
Yeah, Charlie Handsome, the producer, who comes from the world of rap, was making Young Thug and Travis Scott songs not so long ago, and is now a prince of the studio system.
Incredible.
In Nashville. This song is just a smash. Like, I'm still not sick of it. I've heard it a million times.
Yep.
Everyone knows the words. The duet really works. I think the way their voices complement one another, it doesn't jolt you, but there's like a little bit more gravel to Morgan Wallen, who, has been through some things, both in the music industry and outside of it. He was largely chastised for his use of a racial slur a couple years ago. Been, I would say, welcomed back.
Yeah, certainly inching his way back towards respectability, but what's a faster word for inching? Because it's moving very fast.
Yeah, but then also, he just pleaded guilty to throwing a chair off of the roof of a Nashville bar. So, it's I would not want to get hit by these chairs. No. These are sturdy. So, look, I don't think Wallen is going to win because I don't think this is how Nashville wants to represent itself on the world stage. But I just think as a song, you just can't poke a hole in this one.
Who's going to win this, Joe?
I hear you about Casey Musgraves, but I think this is Shaboozey's consolation prize.
Really?
I do, because I don't think Shaboozey stands a chance in Best New Artist or Song or Record of the Year, where he's also nominated.
Yeah.
We'll get there. I think Shaboozey ultimately just a smaller figure in music than Beyonce, Sabrina, Chappell, Billie, especially at this moment. Dare I say he's, hanging out in one-hit wonderland right now. But I think this song is so undeniable and has that clap stomp. Like, it feels Nashville enough. But here it is referencing a rap song that everybody loves. I just think this is where Nashville is going to want to see itself as progressive. And I think this is where its voters sort of throw something in that direction.
Do you think that in Nashville's long struggle with quote-unquote racial reckoning, that this is actually the end point? That it started in 2020, the summer of 2020, and it started with Lil Nas X, and what it actually ends with is a Grammy Award for Shaboozey for remaking a Jaquan song in a country mode.
All right, John, here's your should win best country song. Shaboozey.
I mean, it's hard to argue in the same way you feel about Wallen and Post Malone. That's how I feel about this song. I've also felt like I also have heard this song countless times.
I was playing it for my small child yesterday.
That is a strange way to refer to me, but that's okay. Look, I have been on journeys with this song. Car stereo, at the house, live, seen Shaboozey perform it live multiple times this year. I've loved it. I've hated it. I've resented it. I've fallen back in love with it. Where I've landed is Shaboozey figured out a thing that I have been obsessed with.
Jaquan figured out a thing.
That I personally have been obsessed with for more than a decade, which is a convincing overlap of country and hip hop. It took someone who grew up listening to both musics, imbibing directly both styles, started out as a conventional rapper, and then realized, actually, I need to bring some of that other stuff in to what I do. And then was lucky enough to be on Cowboy Carter and be given a tiny bit of a nudge out into the world, and then happened to have the exact right song at that exact right moment. There's no way Shaboozey should not win this award.
Everything you just said also applies to Post Malone. Down to the appearance on Cowboy Carter. So we've been talking about these big categories populated by, some of the most omnipresent names in music. Mm-hmm. But there are smaller categories, genre categories. So I wanted to do a little bit of a lightning round.
Let's go.
And just run through some of the best categories of the bunch. I'm not even going to read every nominee here, but we're going to do will win and should win. So let's just run through a couple categories that we think are kind of loaded with music you might actually want to listen to that you haven't heard.
Yes.
So rap performance. So this category has Enough, Miami by Cardi B. A song that came and went, but is fun to listen
That
to.
song, that song definitely came out last year.
Yes. When the Sun Shines Again, Common and Pete Rock.
Also came out last year.
Nissan Altima by Doechii from her mixtape.
Also came out last year.
Houdini by Eminem. Like That by Future, featuring Kendrick Lamar,
Yes.
Metro Boomin. Yeah Glow by Glorilla.
Great record. Wow. Incredible.
Let's just listen to a little bit of Yeah. And Not Like Us. Kendrick Lamar.
Who's okay?
This is a rap
Not Like Us is
performance.
gonna win.
Yeah, Not Like Us.
It's a gimme. It's a layup.
But it should be Like That, the actual best song from the Drake and Kendrick beef.
Shall I open your envelope?
Yeah, I just gave it away, but I'm going to open yours too.
Hey,
we agree. Like That.
Like That.
Come on.
It's the obvious one. Also, one of the most haunting things that happened in the whole beef this year was the interview with Future in GQ after the fact, where he's like, "What? I'm not in the big three? What? No one's thinking about me?" And I was sort of thinking really hard about Future, like watching all these people like ping pong against each other and being like, number one, I'm above this, but number two, wait, am I not important enough to diss? Like, am I somehow like outside of the thing? Anyway,
The answer
Future,
is yes, and that's why we love Future.
Yes. So Future, a great rapper. This is a very good song. It kicked the whole thing off. It's Like That.
You alluded to the big three, the third being Kendrick. Kendrick said,
Nope.
I don't want any part of this. That's where this all started. That's why we got Not Like Us. That's why Not Like Us is going to win all these rap Grammys.
Yes.
And maybe even bigger ones.
Correct.
Melodic rap, also a weird category this year. This is another place where Beyonce appears with Spaghetti, which is co-written by Jay-Z and The Dream. Very obviously, if you've ever listened to either of their music before, you can hear her doing that. She calls herself Thanos, which I guess is a Marvel reference. I don't like it.
Pass.
I don't like it one bit. But I know you want to talk about Kehlani.
So, okay. 2024, the year of Cash Cobain, the year of Sexy Drill. When I was living in England, two-step garage, speed garage, 97, 98, 99. just incredibly sensual, beautiful, melodic, but street records. 2024 Sexy Drill, I felt, was the comeback of that. And Cash Cobain was so important to that sound. So it's a bit insane that the song of that style that gets nominated for a Grammy is essentially by like a type beat type rapper, Jordan Doechii, a remix of his song Kalani with Kehlani. I don't necessarily have a quarrel with the song. It's a little bit like CJ Whoopty with it as far as like crossover drill, but it's very unfortunate that out of anybody get nominated or any song to get nominated, it's this one.
Luckily, it's not going to win.
Look, it's Timu Drill. That said, I don't know. Why don't we open? What's going to win?
So, what's going to win here?
Beyonce's going to win.
Beyonce's going to win? You
win.
think Beyonce's going to win a rap Grammy?
Yes, Beyonce's going to win because Beyonce is a bigger name than Future, unfortunately.
Definitely.
Also, this Future with the Weeknd song is not one of the better ones out of all the ones they nominated.
Definitely not a rap song.
No one's voting for, no disrespect, Lotto or Rhapsody.
That Lotto song, Big Mama, great song.
Nevertheless,
2-part beat switch, really great performance.
Second part better than the first, but still. I think that Beyonce's going to win because most people are just going to look and see Beyonce and click that.
I do think this is another bellwether category, which is if the rap voters are
Team Beyonce.
Team Beyonce, then I think that bodes well for her in the big categories.
Fair.
I think if she starts collecting these genre trophies, maybe it's going to be Cowboy Carter's night. Then again, Beyonce's won a lot of genre trophies in the past and not a lot of the big four, so I might eat my words. I think Rhapsody's going to win this. This is a very Grammys.
Will
This is a
win.
weird, yes.
This is like Khruangbin
Yes.
winning Best New Artist.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I think it's the most old school. It has Erykah Badu, a sort of legacy name. You know, I think Rhapsody could take this trophy.
Here's who you think should win is Lotto.
I do. I think Lotto has the best melodic rap performance in the bunch.
I'm not even sure how melodic that rap performance is, but fine, I'll accept it.
All right, John, here's what you got in your envelope. Who should win? Kehlani.
So Timu Drill. I know. As I was arguing against it and listening to it so much, I was like, of these songs, it is the best song. And that's why I sort of made the comparison to CJ's Whoopty, which a lot of people had a problem with when it came out, but clearly was an incredibly effective distillation of that style of drill when it came out. This is, for better or worse, an effective distillation of this style of drill, even if it's the wrong ambassador for it.
I think we both really like this African music performance category. Yeah?
Yes. Really, really good. Really good nominees, actually quality songs, radio hits, big personalities. Run through the nominees real fast.
We got Tomorrow by Yemi Alade. We got MMS by Ashake and Wizkid, Sensational, Chris Brown featuring Davido and Lojay, Higher by Burna Boy, and Love Me JJ by Thames.
Look, Burna Boy's going to win this.
Yes.
Just if this is like Burna Boy, the Chris Stapleton of this.
He's
Burna Boy's
the
gonna
genre
win.
representative
Yes.
on a cross-genre stage.
Yes. Who should win, though? Ashake and Wizkid.
What a record.
Incredible song. Hard to argue, although...
You've got Thames. That was my other choice.
Yeah, to me, the Thames song, like, the thing that Thames has been able to do so effectively is create songs that are true to sort of the origin story of the genre, while also having a tremendous crossover appeal. This is a huge American radio staple that's also incredibly big and faithful to the original style. It's hard to argue with Thames.
It's interesting that some of these international categories, which is a sort of growing pains zone for the Grammys traditionally, grouping a lot of stuff that doesn't necessarily belong together.
Yes.
But some of them are really evolving quickly. And the other one, along with African music performance, is the Musica Urbana category,
Yes.
which again, I think is like, these are the
Dare I say it's right?
Yeah, these are the correct albums. You know, you got Bad Bunny, you got J Balvin, you've got Residente, and then you've got, you know, some upstarts. So we can talk about who will win this category, but I think we both know it's going to be Bad Bunny.
Bad Bunny is going to win. That's just, it's a no-brainer. Whether this album is the best Bad Bunny album or not, I would say it's not the best Bad Bunny album. It's a little bit overlong. As he himself told us, a lot of insidery references to like classic reggaeton and Puerto Rican slang. Like, I'm not sure it's the exact Bad Bunny record, that it's not Umbrellas and Tea. You know, it's not that crossover level.
But it's the Bad Bunny album that came out during the voting window.
Yes.
And it will be rewarded as such. But who should win this category?
Interesting how we both think who should win is Young Miko.
Yes. Young Miko, young Puerto Rican rapper, singer, question mark. She made this album called Atentamente, which is short for sincerely in Spanish, and just a great talent. I think we both love her music. We were both blown away by her verse on this Bad Bunny album.
Absolutely. One of the things that's been really striking to see in the wake of Bad Bunny's success, I think when Bad Bunny first came out, there was this sense of, oh, he's this singular talent, right? Like he can do things that nobody else can do. He can be a genre ambassador in a way that almost nobody else can. And then a surprising thing happened, which is 3, 4, 5, 10, 20 young stars took that as a template, much as many young stars took Drake as a template. They took Bad Bunny as a template and ran with it. To me, this Fade album and also the Young Miko album, to me, are both very, very effective representations of that. But the Young Miko album, to me, is the most clever, inventive, and unexpected out of this group.
All right, John, here we are. It's the big one.
It's the Grammys Popcast. It's Album of the Year. It's huge. It's huge. You've been waiting all day to talk about this.
All right, I'm going to run down these nominees, and I want to start with our friend, Andre 3000, New Blue Sun. This is his improvisational, experimental, flute, jazz, ambient album.
Yes.
We talked to him about it.
Not a flute album, he made a point of saying. It features flutes, but it's not a flute album.
We talked with him about it at length.
Yep.
Here on Popcast. He performed here in the New York Times office.
Where we all.
Go watch that on YouTube
Watch
if you haven't
that.
seen it.
YouTube.com/Popcast.
This is a pretty weird album to be nominated for Album of the Year, but it's also by Andre 3000.
So we have talked a lot about Grammy favorites, right? We've talked about Billie Eilish as a Grammy favorite. We've talked about Casey Musgraves as a Grammy favorite. Andre 3000 is a Grammy favorite who has just been missing, more or less, from the conversation for the bulk of the last 2 decades. Andre 3000, as part of Outkast, won Album of the Year.
One of only 2 rap albums to ever win.
And so Andre's comeback narrative, which is, I walked and wandered through the world playing woodwind instruments, teaching myself how to play, studying at the feet of masters, but also kind of purposefully toying with amateurism. That said, I also found an incredibly talented supporting band to help bolster up the parts of the musical proposition that maybe I'm still finding my footing in. Andre put out, I would say, less an album than a statement of purpose. And from a narrative perspective, I can see that being incredibly appealing to Grammy voters.
Is this the real music pick?
That's exactly it. See, to me, the thing that Grammy voters always struggle with is, are they really playing? What are they good at? You can look at all these other albums and point to instances of quote unquote real music, but this is the most hand-played album of the bunch. And if you're a voter that tilts in that direction, and maybe you heard Hey Ya once in your life, this might be where you throw your vote.
I do think it's notable that much like Beyonce, Andre's also spread out through some genre categories.
Yes.
And he's doing a little bit of, polite bigfooting.
Yes.
Where he's saying, I might be the only person here with household name recognition. Am I bringing light to this obscure experimental jazz category? Or am I taking it for myself? And I think it's going to be interesting to see how the voters respond to something like that. I think the less said about the next nominee, the better. And I think if there's any justice in the world, voters will feel the same way. This is Jacob Collier. This is Jesse Volume 4. This is...
Is the audio picking up me doing this?
Shrugging.
Just throwing my hands up. Jacob Collier, a one-time protege of Quincy Jones, who passed away this past year. I can see a big moment for Jacob Collier on the stage, maybe as part of a tribute to Quincy. Maybe there's some residual votes being thrown in. Also a quote-unquote real musician. But I as songcraft, I do not find this music compelling, and I wish that it would not win.
But this is the John Batiste of this year. So if the night ends with everyone saying, who's Jacob Collier, I'm sure you'll have no shortage of explainers to read on Monday morning from across the internet.
Regrettable.
All right, we've been talking about these 2 all episode. It's Chappell Roan, it's Sabrina Carpenter. It's short and sweet. It's the rise and fall of a Midwest princess. These 2 albums, you know how we feel about them.
Yep.
I think they've earned their place here, but we don't need to talk about them again. These are our new pop stars.
Yes.
Charli XCX, Brat, same thing. Big cultural moment last year.
Dare I say, if Kamala wins the election, this wins Album of the Year.
At least has a chance.
Yeah. But
The Brat bubble was a little burst
yes.
after Kamala took Kamala is Brat, a Charli XCX tweet, made it part of the campaign. No one's feeling that Brat
Pass.
at this second, I don't think.
Pass.
I don't think this pick is going anywhere, but imagine the internet rejoicing if it does.
I just donated all my neon green clothing. What am I going to do if this happens?
Billie Eilish, Hit Me Hard and Soft. We went over this.
Yep.
Definitely has a chance.
Sure.
Taylor Swift, the Tortured Poets Department. Can you imagine
No.
if Taylor wins again? She's already the only person in all of history to win Album of the Year 4 times, most recently with Midnight's last year.
Is she also the only person to win Album of the Year and not apologize to Beyonce for winning Album of the Year?
Yes.
Might be an interesting year if that happens. Because what's our last nominee?
It's Beyonce. It's Cowboy Carter. Will she? Won't she? Will they do right by Beyonce? More crucially, is awarding Cowboy Carter doing right by Beyonce?
So those are two separate questions, right? Of all Beyonce albums, is Cowboy Carter the most meritorious of an Album of the Year victory?
Absolutely not. I would argue that it is the worst Beyonce album.
Okay, I don't know if it's the worst Beyonce album, but I don't think it's the best Beyonce album. I would rather see Lemonade here. I would rather see 4 here. Like
Renaissance a couple years ago.
Yeah. To me, there are too many converging narratives. Beyonce getting shut out of Album of the Year time and time again. Black performers in country music taking center stage this year. Maybe a tiny bit of Taylor fatigue. There are a lot of things going on this year, and I kind of think they're going to give it to Beyonce.
You think Beyonce will win Album of the Year?
My will win.
Putting it down.
Beyonce will win Album of the Year. And you want to talk about endless think pieces. The think pieces Monday morning are going to be going dummy.
If she wins Album of the Year, it is a Lifetime Achievement Award. It is Martin Scorsese winning for The Departed. It's Al Pacino winning for Scent of a Woman. I think she overplayed her hand by Cowboy Carter. I think if the Grammy voters were not going to respond to the Beyonce albums that were Lemonade and even Renaissance, which, again, I'm not a huge fan of, I just want to say all of these albums immaculately made. Like, it's Beyonce. The bar is the ceiling. Like, she's executing at a certain level. But all of the heavy-handedness of Cowboy Carter that I think in many ways is meant to convince the voters that haven't, I don't know if it doesn't push them away a little bit further. There's literally a song on this album that begins with Linda Martell saying, genre
Genres are a funny little concept, aren't they?
you know, but essentially explaining what genre is and how it's a tricky thing. Like, this is like, it's too much.
Although the thing that I would say, and this came up when in our Critics Year-End Roundtable, we were talking about who Cowboy Carter was for. And Cowboy Carter is an album. It's a great Beyonce album. I don't know if it's the best. It's a great Beyonce album. But it's an album for people who historically would not take one look at a country album in the Album of the Year category and say, I'm going to vote for that. And it's going to allow them to feel open-minded and say, hey, I can support other kinds of music, especially if it's made by someone like Beyonce. It's the outsider nominee and the insider nominee all at the same time. I think it checks a lot of boxes, and I think there's a lot of storylines that end incredibly neatly with a Beyonce victory. I think Beyonce's going to win.
If Beyonce comes away with the big trophy at the end of Sunday night, I think what will have done it is that NFL halftime performance on Christmas Day on Netflix. Ratings were bonkers. Performance was flawless. It's what made the album hang together for me. I don't like that she covered Blackbird by the Beatles as the second track on this album. I don't like that she flipped the meaning of Jolene for her cover. Like, none of that works for me when I'm listening to the album front to back. But on stage, Beyonce can sell anything.
Yeah.
And she was so good in that Cowboy Carter medley. It was the first time she'd performed these songs. Even skeptics went into that, like myself, and could have come away saying, all right, Fine. Here's the vote.
What I'm going to say is that when Beyonce goes on tour, we're going to Nashville and we're going to walk up and down Lower Broadway, night of the show. It's going to be a wild night.
That said,
Who's going to win?
I think Billie Eilish is going to win again.
Oh!
I really do. I think this is a race between Grammy favorites. I think you can try and change the Grammys over and over again. I think this is a race between Billie and Taylor, and I think the Taylor fatigue is going to lead to Billie votes. I think this is the best Billie Eilish album. I think it is the tightest statement of purpose. I think it's the most album of these albums, and I think these people love her, and I think they will continue to reward her. Look, Chappell could have been this pick. That album is simply too messy. It's all over the place.
Are you sure?
Okay, imagine
Why
pressing
don't you
play.
open that envelope? Why don't you open that envelope?
I want to make I know you think Chappell Roan should win this category. I don't even have to look at the card.
Fine.
Rise and Fall of a Midwest Princess. I'm trying to imagine somebody who's never heard Chappell Roan before. Go on the little Grammy website. I don't even know how you listen to the music on there. I don't, let us know, Grammy voters. Show us behind the scenes.
Show us screen grabs.
You press play. It's phenomenon. Leave that in. Phenomenon. It's like the whiplash is crazy. Just the lyrics are bonkers. Like, this album is not the best of Chappell Roan. Live is the best of Chappell Roan. Good Luck Babe is the best of Chappell Roan. The next Chappell Roan album will win Album of the Year at the Grammys if she keeps on this path. Not this one.
Can I just say that when the Grammy voters click on whatever the website is and hear phenomenon, that's how you pronounce it. They're going to say, it's crazy, it's bonkers, everything you just said, but with a thumbs up, not a head scratch. To me, Chappell Roan has the album of the year. And part of the reason Chappell Roan has the album of the year is because of that mess. One of the things that we were talking about all throughout 2024 is what's the evolution post Taylor Swift and Taylor acolytes, and certainly post Olivia Rodrigo, in terms of what mainstream pop is moving towards. What it's moving towards is productive chaos. What it's moving towards are edges that are not sandpapered down. By that metric, Chappell Roan's album is the best of the year.
Or it's what I picked as my should win.
Short and Sweet by Sabrina Carpenter. Joe, do you get points on this record?
I wish. It is so good. It is so good. It has held up so well. It is pop music in 2024.
It's gotten better over the years.
It's like, this is what we want. This album is not going to win because it's too glossy. It's too poppy.
Yes.
She's a child star. She came out of TV. It's not going to win because it's not how the industry wants to see itself, but it's how the industry should see itself, which is, you work hard enough, you write enough good songs, you just keep at it, you keep at it on your
You work with Jack Antonoff.
On your sixth album, you're going to perfect it. And Short and Sweet is a tight, perfect little pop album, and I wish it would win Album of the Year.
I guess what I know is when it comes to Best New Podcast, Popcast is absolutely going to win at this Grammys and at all other award show. That's our episode. We're going to do a post game with the whole pop team. We'll catch up. We'll see who was right, who was wrong. Check in with us every episode ever of Popcast at nytimes.com/Popcast. Catch us at youtube.com/Popcast. Subscribe anywhere you get your audio content. Instagram and TikTok at Popcast Deluxe. We'll be back after the